man's private life. And it went through 3 different film companies. First it was Craig Stesic and Greg Escalante. And then Anna Wolovic and Angie Glenn worked on it for 5 or 6 years. And then the wonderful friends here at Rhino Records Film Division, and they finally put the cap on it. These people were so deeply involved in me and Suzanne's life, so intrusive that you know, the thing is, to be in the arts and to be an artist, it's very important, unfortunately, to pass yourself off as a celebrity. You know, and you have to have enormous social skills. And actually, you see a lot of artists make it really big that actually aren't that slick of artists, you know, but they really got the ability to interact with people and entertain people. Well, I kind of failed in that response, you know. This thing is, my whole career has been working on a series of model kits or something, you know. So, anyway, thanks again for coming. I hope you enjoyed this thing. What you were looking at was cut down out of 200 hours. Yeah, and just about 20 years, off and on. So I hope there's some great entertainment there for you. There's a lot of Cracker Barrel philosophy there. Some of it I would probably think about again. Anyway, this is my friend here, Mat Gleason. Now, technically, we can't be friends because I'm the artist and he's the art critic. This guy has cut the balls off more artists than you can imagine.
At the Robert Williams event, where do you see it going from here? This film could have ended so many times with you having achieved greatness. 20 years ago, you were just starting, almost 20 years ago, you were just starting Juxtapose. That could have been the final scene of the movie. I've now started an art magazine, and yet after that, you ended up with sculpture, you ended up with the Whitney Biennial. What's next?
Well, I'm not the focal point, really. I mean, I am here, you know, but the reality is the chickens have come home to roost in the art world. And, abstract expressionism and conceptualism are going to have to kind of step to the side for a while. There's a whole new generation of artists that aren't necessarily philosophy-based in what they're striving for. In other words, art has become so intellectual, you don't have to do the art. And, you know, if you can wiggle your left foot, and you're born with an anus, you're eligible for an art license. And if you can't wiggle your left foot, I think you can get a deferment. So, I mean, it is a wonderful thing that art has become so liberal that everything and everybody can be art and artist. That's a great thing. But on the other hand, you've got a large amount of people that have technical skills that are bridled up and have to be released.
Do you see that as the natural flow of, say, the pendulum reacting against maybe prior to abstract expressionism, where you could have vacuous decorative art as long as it was technically well done, and so you ended up with this explosion of making paintings with absolutely no subject matter whatsoever? Do you just see it, or are we just on the upswing the other way?
Well, here's what the situation is. Now, abstract expressionism is really legitimate, and conceptualism is really intelligent and legitimate, but it became absolutes in its period of time. Now, what I'm doing seems to be like a trend with lots and lots of young people, And the worst thing that could happen is this stuff gets popular. Because if this stuff gets popular, it's going to wear itself out fairly quickly. As long as this stuff is striving to get ahead, it has validity to it. But if this kind of stuff got to be the art of the world, you know, and this was imposed on everyone, then it would be kind of, you know, it'd wear itself out real quick. You'd have an awful lot of people doing big-eyed children and TVs.
Don't you have that now, though? Isn't the bad like that?
Well, it's kind of happening. You know, we live in a period of time. Now, a lot of people criticize me for talking about the past, but that's the problem with being old, unfortunately, is you see too damn much. But the thing was that I remember when abstract expressionism came in, it was okay, but then it absolutely took over everything. You had to be an abstract expressionist. And here, the last 15 years ago, if you weren't a pop artist, you had to be a conceptualist. You know? We're in a time now, a wonderful time now, that's kind of chaotic, where you can be any goddamn thing you want to be. You can actually go to art school and be any goddamn thing you want to be. And as far as I know, and looking back on my 50 years of art, I've never seen a period you can just go to art school and you can be any goddamn thing you can imagine.
How's it going to shake out?
Well, it all depends on the young people and how they want to apply themselves. Now, there's where your problem lies, because will the next generation just copy each other until the situation sours?
Is it just the Protestant work ethic needed to get into these art schools?
Well, okay, now, before I'm a hardworking artist, I've got to tell you, I am a bohemian. See? And I believe in being just as lazy as being productive. I'd like to be lazy, but I can't bring myself to do it. But the situation is, you've got to have a cultural society that tolerates all art, instead of having maybe 2 or 3 isms, like conceptualism, minimalism, and pop art. You should have 12 or 15 different kinds of art. Now, not 3, but a whole shitload of different kinds of avenues for the artist to express himself. The problem is in New York. The problem is with the writing establishment in New York, who has, for the last 60 or 70 years, maybe back into the Victorian periods, confused inhibition for sophistication. You know, being constipated is not being sophisticated.
What do you think of your art? Is definitely privileged for the interior space and ultimately for the institution. In a way, your art it's been a championship for individual collectors outside of museums and nonprofits collecting them. Do you see street art as the critique of institutional space, and with your art, interior space, the domestic sphere of where the painting is exhibited? And people might credit you with having a little bit of a push toward allowing this whole street art thing to have happened. Do you want to claim having let the genie out of the bottle?
Well, I've only got a little effect or influence on what's called street art. You know, street art is basically graffiti. You know? So I can only associate myself with street art in referencing cartoon imagery that street artists use.